Good
Just
morning,
waiting for
Sridhar.
people
Are you
to
taking
start.
roll?
Sorry?
Are you taking the roll, it looks like?
Yes.
So we expect Joe to be out today, right?
Yes. Hence I started. Okay, so we'll wait maybe a few more seconds and then start. It's okay, right?
Sounds good. Thanks, Sridhar.
I think we can go ahead and start, right?
Yeah, we can start.
I think
Sridhar.
so.
So we do not have quorum. We cannot make any decision today. Maybe if somebody else joins, if at least one person joins, we can. But I don't see any decision to be made. So we can go ahead and start. Under the announcement, I just have one from my side. That's the OPI Slack is a paid version now. So hopefully we won't lose anything. So thanks to TSC and thanks to support from Simon. So we have this. I could get this done.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay. Let's start with the agenda. So one is on the OCP. So Simon, I'm sorry. In the last meeting, I thought it was Red Hat who mentioned who will check internally and then get back to us. Maybe I got confused. So I said I
I
added you.
probably said that. I would say that it's very unlikely we will be helping with the booth. I understand that there may be an OPI meeting at the board level going on around that event. So we're considering attending for that reason. But as far as I can tell, Red Hat's not planning to have a presence at the show.
Okay.
At least
Okay.
I couldn't find anyone. It's a large company. Sometimes things get lost.
So I have a proposal. I don't know what TSC would say because I may attend this thing. So I was thinking if we can demo this this DPF operator there for the members who attend, because I was thinking OCP is one of the kind of only event that is relevant to us, and the one in the global is in October. I was thinking to keep this OPI messaging alive, if we can do some kind of activity in OCP regional also, it continues keeps the message alive for next few more months, right? So what do the TSC think about doing this TCP operator demo? We can get a server on a rent, and maybe if we can get a Bluefield NVIDIA the card also there for a rent, or maybe ship it for some duration and do this demo. I think and ask for people to, hey, if you want to use this or work with the other cards and other vendors, please join OPI and see how we can make it a multi-vendor solution, taking from this operator kind of. Does anybody see a value in this thing, or?
I think it's a valuable suggestion, Sridhar. I'm a little skeptical of pulling off the logistics at this point.
That's what I want to check if you think it's we can explore. Is it okay for me to explore this option of getting this thing? Because I think I can work on this one, not an issue, but logistics is the challenge part. So I can explore if it's TSC believes that we should consider at least exploring this
Yeah,
option.
I'm supportive of it. I would
Yeah, I would
hope
be
that
too.
NVIDIA would give you enough support, Sridhar, to try to make it happen.
Yeah, I
Have anybody from NVIDIA in the call? Oh, Ilad is there.
A lot
Hey,
of
hi.
I'm here, but I'm sorry, I didn't hear the request.
No, so what I was suggesting is to do this DPF operator demo at the OCP booth. We can, if it's valuable, then I can work on the logistics and see if we can pull off getting the server and Bluefield card and uh, create a single node cluster and showcase how we can manage this as a resource in that cluster.
Of course, we'll be happy to support that, but I would want not NVIDIA to be the focus of it, but rather one of the partners like a Red Hat or a SUSE or Canonical, so and an ISV. So I would much rather the focus be, hey, see how Red Hat, for example, deploys with F5 on a cluster.
Yeah. No, so what we want to messaging, what I was proposing is, hey, OPI is looking for people to work on this thing and make it a multi-vendor solution of this operator kind of a thing also at the same time.
Fair enough.
Is DPF consumable in a turnkey fashion today, Vlad, so that we can?
Yes, you've
put this
got the
together without-
operators on GitHub, and it's pretty easy to use. However, what will become easier is after GTC, you'll see more OS vendors offering it, and that will become almost as if you're buying, installing distribution.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we can remotely, if Simon or any of his team member can work with us remotely, so that we can also say that it's one of these vendors also joining. I mean, also, we can check with VYOS who are more closer to this venue. They are also the OS, our member also, and one of the OS vendors. Maybe we can also try them in that case.
Okay.
The only thing I'm thinking is it's a free booth and OCP is a relevant event. We should keep the messaging alive of OPI. That was my only intention.
And indeed, that's why I said what I said. It cannot be about NVIDIA. It has to be about an ecosystem that's coming. And I do want in that booth to have other IPUs, DPUs, and a selection of OSs, a selection of ISVs, because it's all about the collaboration. So that's much more important to me. Now, DPF is built in a way that any Kubernetes distribution will be able to use it. And as some of you might have seen in the launch, we actually used a mixed bag. So we have some from Canonical, some from Red Hat, some open source Kubernetes environments to show the agility. And again, the fact that it's open code on those two operators means that we're now working with about 5 different OS vendors to get this done.
Okay. Okay, so I will see if we can get any of the. I will also do one last attempt in checking if any other members will be part of this OCP regional, can be part of this OCP regional, if not in person or to do this kind of demo. Accordingly, we will decide. Okay.
Yeah, I can also reach out yet again internally. I know the people working with NVIDIA on DPF.
Okay.
I'm going to say I'm not sure that activity is up to a demoable level at this point, but I can explore that, and Aladdin, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, I will do that.
Has anyone attempted to use this with another vendor's TPU, IPU?
I've heard
Not aware of any
rumors,
on that,
but I'm not aware of anybody that said that they've succeeded.
Okay.
Okay. Any some intern PRs reviews are pending. So I reached out to interns and consolidate their PRs that they're working. So for one of the interns, Saket's PR around Ansible, most of them are merged. Only one is kind of remaining reviewed, one to be reviewed. Whereas the hotel, the monitoring thing, I think there is quite a few PRs that are open that needs review. So just think we should, or I said I can do the review part, but we need somebody others also in the OPI to support this review. Okay. Any other topic? Does anybody have any other topic today? So on the document that Ilad said, I think Joe said he want to be part of it and we want to discuss, take the topic next week. So we will not be doing that topic. I just want to mention that.
Right.
Yeah. So I had a meeting Monday with Joe and he wanted us to, yes, defer the DPF topic till next week. But he wanted to go back and revisit some slides we had started last year and see if we could revive them. So I made a pass through them. I sort of consolidated some of the thinking, and I think he hoped we would have a initial discussion about that today.
Okay.
And this is tied to the board asking the TSC, right, to focus on ease of use, right, as a set of topics. How do we address ease of use for DPUs?
Okay, so should I stop sharing? You want to share something?
Yes, I do want to share. Thanks. Can you guys see my top slide?
Yes.
I'll go in presentation mode here. It's still working?
Yep.
Okay. So this is built off Joe's deck. So I don't know, this might be a Dell format. It's quite snazzy, but anyway, I updated it. And so the point here is to start having discussion about what is it OPI and TSC wants to accomplish in 2025, and use sort of that ease of use as our anchor theme. So, you know, what kind of content can OPI create, right, around this? Obviously, we can do documentation, we can document workflows, show people how to have success in various ways with their DPUs. We can take those workflows and turn them into POCs in our lab and actually provide examples of the workflows, you know, being followed and succeeding. Or someone can actually walk through the workflow in our lab and personally have success with it, or they can take it into their lab and experiment there. These are all ways for sort of hand to mouth feeding of the workflow so that people get comfortable with what we want them to do with these DPUs. In addition, of course, we can have code for integrations, things like our hotel telemetry that perhaps they can just drop in or quickly integrate into what they're doing so that we can, you know, enable the broader ecosystem. And then focusing on things that we can deliver in 2025. Let's keep the scope, you know, sort of within the range of what we can actually make something useful by the end of the year. Targeted areas, I think we've discussed these sort of things before. I sort of rolled them up into these three. Onboarding of a new card. This has always been a high friction area, and it's a place we've spent some time in our lab. And how do we expose that and make that available to anybody who's new and coming to DPUs and looking to OPI for help, and perhaps is frustrated with their initial onboarding experience. Beyond that is base operations, right? How do you get these cards up and into a network and visible and able to upgrade their firmware and their OSs and prepare them for applications? And then the final is, okay, I got cards, they're in my network, I can see them. How do I deploy my applications on top of them? And I think that third bullet is what we'll focus on probably tomorrow, I mean, next week, because I think that becomes very much a DPF focused topic. That if DPF multi-vendorized is the way to go, that will probably solve a big piece of that. And just before a lad jumps on me, I know maybe DPF can address some of the base operations as well, but I'm sort of setting that aside for the moment and treating it as more of an application deployment operator. Although
Yeah,
I do know that
it's actually the opposite, Tim. I think that the idea of contributing it as code is so people can make what they want out of it. Meaning, if you don't like pieces of it, don't use pieces of it.
okay. But I think where I'm hoping we drive for over this course of this year is coming up with more of a cookbook approach to things so that people can say, I need the cards that do this. How can OPI show me how I could get there? And that we can then use pieces of DPF maybe to assemble that recipe. Again, this is all just my thinking. I'm throwing it out here for discussion. Before I go deeper into these three areas, is there any comments?
No, but I know I need to get this over to Cesar, who's over there on the life cycle and provisioning. I don't know if you've already talked to him at all.
No. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, yeah, definitely a lot of what I'm going to mention here has already been addressed by those guys, or
Yeah.
we would ask them to address it. So,
Cool.
and because this is more the introduction of the topic, I'm trying to stay high level and not pull everybody in, because I think ultimately we have to do drill downs in various subtopics here in future meetings. Okay, I'll roll forward now. Okay, so looking at the onboarding ideas I have around the onboarding, we've talked about a lot of this stuff in previous meetings. Is developing quick start guides for each of the individual DPUs that addresses, getting your card installed, getting your power attached, getting the right cables, providing examples in our lab of how you get an Nginx installed on a new card if you follow this workflow. Talking about, okay, the card came with a certain set of software on it, but typically that's not the right software for you because the world's moved on and you need to upgrade the firmware and the OS, or maybe you want to use a different OS. So how do you do that? There's a bit of magic in each card that's unique about, replacing the shipping firmware and the OS. And then finally, maybe developing a troubleshooting fact for each card that says, here's 10 things we've run into and how we address them. I think all of this content is really just about helping somebody who's new to an individual vendor's card overcome that initial friction of getting that card up and running. Any comments, Paul? Did I miss anything in this area?
You did not. I think that looks good.
So I think we would try to put this up together, get it up on a website available, point to it, and then even improve it as we get more, line items for the FAQ and so on. And ideally, the vendors would support us in this effort since, it's in their interest to get people onto their cards as easily as possible. Base operations. So once you have your card sort of installed, maybe you've done the firmware update, through the host, but now you want this card to be visible, from a network perspective. So having defining how the cards get their network identity, how we can discover them on the network, having methods for inventory of the card's capabilities and its assets, including the software versions that are on that card, having ways to do local or remote updates to the firmware and the OS, having common ways of communicating with your host, perhaps providing integrations to some of the common fleet management tools and software, and then having the OPI defined telemetry service. That's something a customer can just take from OPI and add it to what they're doing on their cards. And let's get everybody doing telemetry in a consistent way. Comments on this, anyone? Again, I don't intend this to be a complete list. It's just my first pass of going through our previous slides.
No, it fits with what we've wanted to do. So
Yeah, and if we could get these various areas, right, basically to have some commonality in the tooling, and as I said, workflows that are maybe somewhat unique to each card, but at least we're telling people how to do these things on that card. And where we can, we do provide agents or pieces of code that help make it common across the cards. But at some level, you always drop into card specifics. So there is a level of just sort of working and documenting how to do these things on each card. All right, and then the third area is application deployment. So now your card is visible, it's on the network, it's talking to your host, but hey, you actually want to deploy an application or two on top of the ARM complexes, attach those to the hardware accelerators, and do the reason, execute the workloads that are the reason you bought your cards. So I don't think OPI is trying to address, bespoke bare metal use cases. If the vendor wants to do that, they should go off in their labs and do that. That's fine. What we're really interested in is more of a Kubernetes-based style, whether either an internal Kubernetes master or an external one is deploying container-style workloads on top of the ARM complexes. So in order to do that, you have to get your Kubernetes PaaS layer installed on your card so that it can become, a kube deployment target for your Kubernetes masters. So we need a way to do that for each card, at least a reference way that says, hey, this is how you get from a base OS to a Kubernetes PaaS layer. There need to be conversations about which PaaS layers we support, at least from the viewpoint of describing how to install them and the fact that we've maybe done that and tested it and showed that it works on each card. Once you have your PaaS layer, then of course we want to be able to deploy application instances and have those join either an internal or an external cluster. And then maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm confused here, lad, and saying that DPF is the starting point here. But we need to start somewhere.
It's
'Cause this is,
definitely
to
the
me,
starting point, and it's even more than that. It gives you tools to accomplish maybe halfway.
so I should have put in maybe middle point. So I do think it's a great place to start building. I do think it's the end goal because I think most of us in OPI have this vision that what makes the DPU a DPU is that it has an ARM complex that can accept workloads like this. And that's really powerful when you combine it with a Kubernetes deployment style.
Yes, I would definitely agree.
All right, so where do we go with these? I think I have other slides where we can do drill downs that Joe created. I don't really want to do that this morning. Rather, I would talk about how do we tackle this kind of work, right? Can we define sort of a schedule and a cadence of going through these things, pulling in the working groups, spreading out the topics into different TSC meetings, maybe having a different TSC member lead each of the meetings so that we can sort of spread the work out across the TSC. They can maybe have conversations with the work group leads, pull together a few slides, and then lead a meeting on the topic, from which we can pull actually, work definitions for a working group to actually go create the content. I also like the idea of spreading assignments to TSC members as a way to create, better member engagement across the TSC. So I think that's the end of my prepared material. I agree with having talked to Joe that we've been a little too idle in the TSC and OPI in general, and so I think we're hoping we can increase our engagement and our level of activity. I think the maturity of the cards now, plus the advent of DPF, gives us a window, to really sort of increase the scale of our impact on the ecosystem if we put the effort out and if our member companies put the effort out.
I like it, Tim.
Thanks.
So I hope, hopefully we'll pick up this topic with Joe next week and take it to the next level, so. And maybe you can, you guys can all do a little thinking on your part and come back with thoughts on it.
Yeah, I like the idea of trying to revitalize things, and especially the working groups. And I'm not sure it's the only suggestion, but the idea of TSC members sort of delegating themselves in that direction, I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and perhaps even, you know, sort of taking on an ad hoc working group for a month or two to, you know, to solve one of these problem areas, solve for one of these problem areas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is the conversation, is how do we get the work done?
Yes, right. And I think that's the conversation we need to have.
So another, you know, thought I had while I was putting this content together is, has have the number of cards increased? I guess I haven't really been paying attention to everything. So we focus, of course, on NVIDIA Bluefields, the Marvell cards, and Intel cards. Those are the big three. But Mango Boost, right, is a member here, right? And they have a card. And there might be a few other smaller ones out there. Maybe they have to come to OPI for us to pay attention to them. Are we doing anything to get Mango Boost up in the lab, Paul? Or understand how to get on top of them at all?
I do not think so. I don't think that we have a Mango Boost card in the lab.
Yeah, we are talking to them and asking them, or at least tell us how do we procure that so that we can procure at least in this year budget and put it in the lab.
Yeah,
So-
so this is Asim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can continue, so I'll tell.
No, go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. I actually talked to them on this topic and also talked to them on their the Mango Boost, their bridge that they have created. So they are actually actively working on it, and they were somewhat willing to maybe give their card or actually get their card in the OPA lab as well. But currently they are actually in the process of making their SDK compatible with what OPI already has. So they are making progress on it. So we might get their card as well in the lab.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, obviously we'll work through this process with the vendors we have, but it would be good to remember that we might have to onboard new cards as they come up. And I think that's part of OPI's role, is to help a new DPU vendor join the ecosystem.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, Pensando will join this year.
Yeah, hopefully that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
They were very active early, you know, 2 years ago, but they don't come anymore. So, but they're certainly active in the marketplace. I see their cards everywhere. So
Yeah. And a lot of thanks to a lot of support from FI on that aspect, working with the Pensando team, I believe. Okay. So just one more point. So if another thing as part of this year's TSC strategy is to showcase top three is just a number, use cases, right, in 2025. So to extend your story, Michael, when we do that app deployment, do we consider those use cases in the mind? Maybe, for example, a telco use case, or maybe an enterprise use case, something like that. One of these use cases as in mind when we do the application deployment. Is that how the story will continue?
Well, I think you'd use a use case as an example of the
Mhm.
deployment recipe or cookbook working, right? But really what you're hoping is that the card consumers, the DPU consumers are bringing their own use cases and even their own applications. But they need the recipe to tell them how to do a deployment.
Correct. So those
I'd
things
like
will-
to see more ISVs, right, be part of
Yeah.
OPI. Right? And we don't have a lot of contributions here outside of F5, right? We're not seeing any activity from Palo Alto or others that could play a role here, right, in helping us come up with common deployment strategies. But I don't think the point, Sridhar, is to evangelize the use case as much as to create the foundation for any use case, right?
No, true. But when I think in the initial, when the TSC proposed as part of the 2025 strategy, when we do the application deployment, maybe we can consider certain domain specific or multiple verticals are there, right? Maybe some focus on any one or two or three verticals and show some of the use cases within that when you do the application, so that people see the value also to replicate them or create a new use case on.
Yeah, I mean, and the outcome of that is we end up showing those at things like OCP, right? So.
Okay.
Okay.
No, not adding any new things, just that when you do the last step, when you do the application deployment, we can pick and choose an application to create a story around that. That's all.
I understand your point. Thanks, Sridhar.
Excellent. So thank you. Any other topic for today? Anybody? So is it okay to because next Tuesday is the governing board meeting? Is it okay for me to walk through these points, Tim, or should we wait until the discussion happens next week and do this presentation in coming next month?
When is the meeting?
Tuesday. Actually, I have very less topics for this month's governing board meeting on Tuesday. So. What do you
I
say?
think it would be okay, Sridhar. I do think Joe should go through them before that, though.
Correct. That's what I just want to check with you. Maybe I will just mention that TSC has started the discussion. That's all.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody? Or else we'll give back your 24 minutes then. Going once, twice. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. See you next week then.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone,
Thank
for
you.
hearing me out. Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Great work there.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Really. Yeah.